What's going on, and welcome to another episode of Chicken Scratch Gospel, coming to you from an undisclosed location underneath the Fortress of Solitude. I am your host, Matt. With me, my co-host, Daniel. What's up, my man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good in this undisclosed.
We're under the Fortress of Solitude. You guys will never know.
Yes.
You guys will never know where we are. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. Man, we got some weird stuff to talk about today.
Yeah.
Like, those of you that are out there listening, man, maybe you're watching, like, there's certain things that come up. There's certain biblical accounts, there's certain stories in the Bible that just make you go, like, what? Like, this is weird, right? Like, or this is crazy that you would even kind of go this way. And we're talking about kind of, I guess we'll answer the question here in a minute.
You know what? If you read the Bible, though, there's a lot of weird stuff.
So much weird stuff.
We just read all the good stuff, and
right?
But man, there's some crazy stuff in there if you get in there.
And this is one of those crazy things, and it's interesting. You guys are just gonna have to you're just gonna have to just go there with us today, okay? Just as you listen, go there with us today. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 19. We're gonna go through verses 1 through 12. I'm gonna go ahead and just read through it here. So what happened is, but set up the shot here. God has already spoken to Abraham, and he's letting Abraham know, like, look, Sodom and Gomorrah got to go. And Abraham pleads with God for, what if there's 50 righteous people? What if there's 10? But what if there's one righteous person? And Abraham's got family there. He's like, I got people there. Yeah. And so God's like, look, we'll send him a warning. That's what we'll do. Which is crazy that God even he does that because Abraham, the father of the faith, considered a friend of God because of his faith. And so what happens? Now we go to Genesis 19 and verse 1. There's two angels. Two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening. And Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. And when he saw them, he got up to meet them, and he bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. As Lot prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they'd gone to bed, all of the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. It's already getting weird. This is already getting weird to me. And then Lot went outside to meet them, shut the door behind him, and he said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. And this, to me, is the most weird part of it, right? These guys show up around his house, and they're like, look, man, bring those two guys out here. We're going to have sex with them. And Lot's like, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you would like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. We need to talk about that here in a moment, okay? This is crazy. All the men shout out, right? Get out of our way. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness so that they could not find the door. The two men said, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we're going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So much going on. Yeah. Here's the question that comes up in my mind and this is what really we want to talk about today. Who are you living to please? Who are you living to please? We had the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is just jacked up in and of itself, right? There's so much sin, there's so much brokenness, perversion, just lots of stuff. And these two angels show up to warn Lot about what's going to happen. Lot's like, you need to come stay at my house. So they obliged him. And then this group of guys, young and old, they show up outside Lot's house and they're like, where are those guys that came with you? Because they're going to have sex with them. Just in case you were wondering how bad Sodom and Gomorrah was, it was this bad. Yeah. It was this much bad. And this isn't even the craziest part to me. Like the craziest part, this isn't even the first thing I want to talk about. Like what really got to me was the fact that Lot was like, don't do that to them. They've come under the protection of my roof. Instead, I have 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like they're not under the protection of your roof?
Yeah.
Like what is going on here? Like he offers his own daughters in order to appease the mob. And that just, I can't with Lot.
I can't either. I think just it's interesting how these men wanted to have sex with, these angels or angelic beings. I think that's the crazy part is that's what they wanted to do,
Yeah.
to get in there. And so when you say like that's how bad Sodom and Gomorrah was, like you see the immorality, and
right.
And trying to get there and do that. And so, yeah, it's definitely an interesting story, but you do see them trying to please, in this situation. And yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy story.
I mean, God sent these dudes there on Abraham's behalf because Abraham had prayed for his family, like to save some of the family that's there that I got. Thank God. Like, and Lot is being the absolute furthest thing from Father of the Year in this moment. Like, I'm kind of like, Abraham, why'd you pray for this fool? Like,
yeah,
did you know? Like, but it's also kind of a picture of, who we pray for and how we should pray. But
yeah.
But every time I read this story, I'm baffled at the fact that Lot is willing to bargain with a mob of people that are completely in the wrong just to make the mob go away.
Yeah.
He's willing to bargain with that which seems most precious to him or should be most precious to him in order to appease or to please this mob of people who have come wanting to do the wrong stuff. And so, who are you living to please? Like that question comes to my brain because I'm going to tell you right now, like that it's so difficult because we're not in the situation, but you better bring more than just all of the men of the city. You better bring an army. You better bring everything you got. I'm not opening the door for you. You're breaking through the door. And if you do, it's going to be a problem. I can't understand like, no, just take my daughter and go away. Nah, dog. Yeah. I can't understand that. But to those that are listening, or if you're watching, what thing that is most precious to you have you bargained or bartered with in order to please somebody else that was in the wrong? How many times have you done that? How many times have you bargained or you bartered or you just tried to negotiate your way around doing the right thing just to shut the wrong thing up?
Right.
Isn't that really what a lot of sin that we deal with is? Right? Like, I feel like that's what, like, there's a lot of sin is less pronounced than like blatant action. Some of it is just us taking the path of least resistance and just like, can we just bargain our way out of this and not have to do the hard thing and fight here?
Yeah.
Not have to do the hardest thing and actually stand up for good or right, but to just kind of go with the crowd and go with the mob.
Yeah. And I think that's what it boils down to. It's easier to please than to do the right thing,
Yeah.
because it's much harder to do what we know is right. And so pleasing someone or pleasing a situation kind of puts it off to the side and say, okay, I dealt with that, I negotiated this, I compromised this, and you just kind of put it off to the side. And it's just so much easier. And you walk away and you're like, okay, that person's pleased, but is it right?
Right.
No, it's not,
Yeah. And this idea again, that God is not interested in your compromise.
Yeah.
God's word is not compromise with your preference or your opinion. God is trying to make you whole. He's trying to complete you. He's interested not even in your compliance, but in your completion. And how often do we make decisions to fit in or to appease the mob? And this brings me immediately, whenever I read that story, I was like, you know what? That is so interesting because it takes me immediately to Romans 12. Immediately. I'm like, Romans 12, 1, 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Why? Because this is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Do not make the choices to appease the crowd of this world, the mob of this world. Do not conform just to keep the peace. You know, we're not supposed to be peacekeepers. We're supposed to be peacemakers.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between a peacekeeper and a peacemaker. But it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, perfect will. I don't know what God's will is for my life. Maybe you've been conforming too long. Maybe you've not taken the time to allow God to transform you by the renewing of your mind. And I want to make this statement, and we can unpack it. But I put before you today that there is a difference between unity and uniformity. There is a big difference between unity and uniformity. I think we're not meant to look the same, be the same, sound the same, even act the same. I'm different than you.
Right.
We're boys, and like I'm different than you. You're different than me, but we have unity. We don't have uniformity. We dress different. We talk different. We act different. We have different personalities, but we have unity. And there's a difference there. And I think that what's going on here a lot of times is you'll have encounters with people in your everyday life, at your job, at your school, just in the world in general, that will feign unity, but really what they want is uniformity. They want you to fall in line. They don't want you to align with God's word and to be unified. They want to fake unity. They want to call uniformity unity and say, no. This is unity, that we all look the same, that we all sound the same, that we all are the same.
What I think of when you say uniformity is, I think of uniforms. I think of like this charter school with kids wearing all the same thing, same color, and you're right, man. Like that is not, and I think we have this view of unity being this external type of thing that we externally do. And this is the way we talk, and this is the way we look, and this is the way we respond. And that's not, unity is not an external appearance, you know. It's an internal alignment with one another, for a common goal, and that's the gospel. That's what
good.
we do, man.
That's so good. And God's desires for us to get beyond that conforming to the world around us. He wants us to allow him to transform us. And that's from the inside out, like you said. Like it's not. I love that unity is not external. It's an internal. Yeah. It's an internal alignment with God, and it's an internal almost agreement between us. We're going to be unified. We agree on the inside that we're going to be unified. Right. And we're going to do what it takes to be unified. And I'm not interested in conformity. I'm interested in transformity through Christ. Yeah. And transformity is not a word, but we're going to use it today. We're going to use it today. And right then when I said I'm not interested in conformity, our individualist producer was like, that. Yes, let's snaps all around for that. I love this. But, no matter where you go, no matter where you live, no matter where you work, whatever, like, don't look for conformity here. Like, see, there's a reason why Lot chose Sodom and Gomorrah. Because when him and Abraham were getting ready to split up, there were two ways that they could go. And Abraham was like, you choose. I'll let you choose. Even though Abraham was the patriarch, he's like, I'll let you pick. And Lot looked over towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and it looked like the land was fruitful. It looked like a good place. That was that was Pleasure Island. He was like, that looks good. This looks like this is a rich place, and I'm going to go over there. I'm going to make my wealth. So God allowed that to happen because God's not going to interfere with your free choice. He allowed that to happen. Lot went that way. Abraham goes the other way. What's funny is Abraham and his seed have flourished in the wilderness, and Abraham became the wealthiest dude around in a land that seemed much less fruitful.
Mm-hmm.
And Lot and his seed began to live to appease the people around him instead of God. He forgot whose he was. And how many times do we forget who we are in the name of conformity?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we forget who we are. We forget what we're called to do. And we then conform and become uniform
Mm-hmm.
to the world around us. You know, we're not supposed to be influenced by the world around us. We're supposed to be the influencers.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be the trendsetters. You know, in the church oftentimes is 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years behind what's going on in the world. We're supposed to be the trendsetters because we have access with the creator of all of it.
Right. Yeah.
But oftentimes we don't use it because we're just so busy conforming.
Yeah. Yeah. We're so busy keeping the peace. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you said earlier.
Keeping the peace, not
the
making
peace.
it.
And you know what? When we keep the peace, I wrote this down just right now because I love what you said about we're not peacekeepers or peacemakers.
Yeah.
I think when you're a peacemaker, you have few friends, but when you're a peacekeeper, you have a lot of fake friends because nothing's really authentic when you're just trying to, please people. And sometimes you just have to have some hard conversations to make peace, and not everybody's going to like it.
Right.
Not everybody's going to agree, but that's okay. And I think in this story, that's what's happening here. He's just trying to, hey, let's just, here, take my daughters and everything will be okay.
Right.
Had he said, no, I'm not, like you said earlier, had he said, no, I'm not going to do that, he would have had a lot of enemies, people that didn't like him, but hey, he was doing the right thing. And so we try to conform to people and their ideas, of what they want, what they find acceptable.
Yeah. And I mean, because I'm telling you, Daniel, like, bro, like you got a daughter. I have a daughter.
Oh, yeah.
It'd have been air and opportunity. That would have been my answer. There's air and opportunity between us. Then you're not getting nothing.
Yeah,
we can have some static. Then we're about to be some fighting fools in here if that's what you think is gonna happen. And it's just baffles me that somebody would be so willing to take that which is most precious to them and give it up for the sake of conforming. And as I say that, I'm sure that some that are listening or watching have had an epiphany in this moment, because what is that is most precious to you that you have decided to go ahead and use as a bargaining chip or just to put on the back burner or say, you know what, I just want everybody to be okay with me. I just want to show up in a room and not have everybody be upset, or I don't want to be the only one on this hill. I don't want to plant my flag in and say no further. I don't want to draw the line in the sand. Like I'm not, Jesus, understand, he came, did he come with oil and wine? Absolutely. But he also said he came with a sword. In this gospel that we preach, that we teach, that we should more than anything be living out and walking out. Like the Bible's very specific to those that understand it, to those that understand this gospel message, this Jesus. It's liberty. To them, it's liberty. It's freedom. When you really understand it. To those that don't understand, he was very upfront. It's a stumbling block.
Yeah,
you're going to stub your toe, and who here likes it when you stub your toe? All of the cuss words. You may not ever cuss, but as soon as you stub your toe, all of the cuss words you thought you forgot come pouring out. And I'm telling you right now, if you're living your life for the sake of conforming to the world around you, you're living beneath your privileges. Yeah. You are living beneath the means for which you've been created.
Yeah. You know what, man? I actually, in my earlier days of ministry, just as even just in my 20s as a young guy, like I was a people pleaser. I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to stir the waters. I didn't want people not to like me, because of a disagreement, or I didn't. And and man, it's a very, very, crippling thing to live like that, where you're almost just not yourself, anymore. You're not free. You're in bondage because you're just living to the expectations of others, or you're living to others, and their narratives, or others and what they think or what they like. And you're never really living to what you like and what you think,
Yeah.
And so it's very, very, crippling living like that. And as I got older, I started realizing, man, it doesn't even matter anymore. Like, why am I trying to please someone? Why am I not being myself?
Yeah.
I mean, am I really that insecure about who I am, where I can't just talk to somebody and say, yeah, you know what, let's talk about this. I don't know if that's what I like, or if that's what I think, or I don't agree with that. Or I'm going to hold my ground and say no, And I think a lot of us deal with it because we don't want people to not like us, especially if we're
right.
But I think we definitely do need to get over the fact that, hey, it is what it is, and we're going to move forward, and it's going to happen regardless,
I think you're so right. And so the question I have for you is this: how often I wonder does that happen in the church, where we somewhere along the line shift from pleasing God to appeasing the mob?
Mm-hmm.
We just want to appease the mob in church. We want to appease the crowd, and not necessarily interested in pleasing God. Because I love that, because you're either a people pleaser or a people appeaser or a God pleaser.
Yeah,
one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You're not both.
Yeah,
you're not both, because you're not always going to make decisions, or you're not always going to say or do something that everybody that's around you is like, that's the one. Yeah. No, that's not always going to happen. Trust. We've been in ministry for a minute. We know that's not always going to happen. Sometimes you are going to have to take a stand. Sometimes you are going to have to disagree. But again, there's a difference between unity and uniformity. Yeah. Did you know that you could disagree with somebody and love them? Oh my goodness. Who knew? Yeah. Did you know that you could have a disagreement and a conversation? Did you know you could debate somebody and still love them? What? Like, this could actually happen. And because I believe, because the church has not been exemplary in this, has not been exemplary with our no's, that our yeses have been cheapened. Yeah. Because we've not been exemplary with our no. Because saying no is not a sin. Saying no is not a sin. And I just set somebody free. Somebody's been going to church and all they do is say yes to everything, and they're ragged, and they have no energy, and they have no family life, and all they have is saying yes, 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 yes all the time. Listen to me, saying no is not a sin. Do not live to please a pastor, to please a team, to please a people. Live to please God. It doesn't matter where you are led to in this world. What matters is whom you live to please. And so make your choice. Yeah. And honestly, so good, that's all I have to say on the subject right now. To be honest with you, right now, you know what it's time for? It's time for our recommendations. That's what it's time for. Let's go. Oh, snap. We got recommendation music. What you got? All right, I got a book by a very old theologian by the name of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Have you heard of Bonhoeffer? Really, really good, man. He wrote this book called The Cost of Discipleship. The Cost of Discipleship, man, it is so good. And listen, in case you didn't know, it's kind of like what we're talking about right now. There's a cost to this thing. There's a cost to being free. Being free ain't free. Being free is going to cost you something. And this is a beautiful, beautiful picture. He's a great. He's one of my favorite theologians to kind of read his angles on and stuff. So The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich. Man, if I ever have a kid again, let's go. Dietrich. Okay, let's move on. May did like this, huh? She's like, did like Dad? This. Okay. What you got? I got, Andy Stanley. This is actually a book that kind of actually goes a few years back. Irresistible, though. Oh, that's a good one. Man, this book kind of just changed my view on the Old Testament. It talks a lot about the Old Testament. Yeah. But he's talking about the gospel and how the gospel of Jesus
is kind of just been, a little, oh, sorry. Yeah. They're telling me here's a book of this camera, that there's so many cameras in here, right here. Irresistible, Andy Stanley. Check it out, man. He just talks about the gospel of Christ and it bringing it back to its state of just wonder and wow and awe. And so great book, great read. Check that out.
That's so good, man. Irresistible by Andy Stanley. The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I did laugh and clap in the middle of Daniel's recommendation. Apologies all around to the sound people and those editing. Eli, I love you. I promise. That's all the time that we have today on Chicken Scratch Gospel. Make sure that you follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when the new stuff drops. That's it. We're out. Go love like Jesus.
Wow. Almost done.